Welcome to the Night Temple, a weekly podcast about art, memory, and inspiration.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Night Temple. I'm your host Carisa,
And I'm Andrew.
and we're from Night Tongue, and we're here today with Mira Billotte.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Mira is white magic, an amazing musician, incredible artist, incredible composer, songwriter, and all-around amazing person.
Thank you guys.
For anyone that hasn't heard white magic, I would just like to actually ask, what genre do you, call white magic? Like if we had to do a short description of white magic, what words would you use to describe?
It's hard. It's always difficult. I've tried to write bios for myself. It's always difficult. But and also because my music is I've tried to avoid genres, I think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a mix, or it's I don't know how to explain this, But definitely there's a folk aspect, but also a experimental avant-garde aspect, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then other people have said, there's psychedelic. It's kind of a range.
Yeah.
Sometimes psychedelic.
There's an Eastern vibe
rock
to it
band.
at times as
That's
well.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eastern scales.
Yeah.
Definitely interested in that more than the straight up Western.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's hard to say.
Andrew and I actually play with Mira sometimes. Every time we play, play together, I'm just so definitely amazed at how
Really?
beautiful the songs are composed, and just
Awesome.
where are you pulling this from? It's just so
Thank you for saying that.
incredible.
I want to accept all of your love. I myself don't know exactly where it's coming from, but
It's hard to know when it's you.
Yeah, I think when we're talking off camera about how musicians hear differently, and I was thinking about that. Not only as musicians, but each individual musician is going to hear something totally different.
Yeah.
And even I believe I have what's called synesthesia.
Yeah.
Which a lot of artists have.
Yeah.
And it's these weird associations for me with musical notes or with, colors,
Yeah.
letters, numbers, that kind of thing. But it's also more, I think it's more subtle in some ways. There can be association with notes that are I don't know,
Yeah.
So it's definitely a different perspective, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, the
fantastic.
synesthesia thing, I don't think that's I wouldn't say that I have that. I mean, I can think about things as being, textural or color or something like that, or bright or dark or but I don't know, synesthesia, do you see specific colors and that kind of thing? Do you have specific images, specific feelings?
Well, one of the things that is a telltale sign is you associate color with numbers and letters.
Okay.
So I've always had the same colors of every letter and every number since I was a little child. And I can see them. It's not I really see the color on a printed page, but I can in a way, because it's I know that's the color of that letter. So you kind of see it, in your mind's eye.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain, but it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. And then reading about it, I'm other people have this too. It was very familiar.
Because, your, time signatures are so wild, the beats that you do and the way that they work.
Yeah, even if it's in 4/4, it doesn't
that's
sound
what I was thinking.
4/4.
It doesn't ever sound 4/4. It sounds...
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's there's something otherworldly or Eastern or tribal or I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely feel a connection with, like tribal music and just indigenous music. There's something raw, about it that's like a lot of times like stripped down vocals, percussion. That definitely interests me. The time signatures, I don't know. Like, I've had other people be like, you're doing this, like 7/8. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
It's just like a weird thing I thought of doing. Like, I didn't know. So I'm totally technically don't know what
there
I'm
are 7/8
doing.
songs, and
really?
if I think about 7/8, I have to really think about that. It doesn't feel natural to me. Like, I'll do it sometimes for the fun of it, but but you're not even aware. You're just, this is like this natural thing that's just happening. It's really cool.
I don't know. Yeah.
So for you, growing up, what was like the starting point of music for you? What drew you to music? Was music the first art form that drew you, or was painting or something else?
Yeah, it was
attractive.
Definitely. I grew up in a family of artists, so my parents were artists, visual artists, and also my mom did theater and writing, poetry, and stuff like that. So it was definitely an artistic family. Everyone did visual art, but then music was kind of the kids. Like, so my sister and I, and then my brother also did music, but my parents didn't. But we grew up with a piano in my house called Laverne. Her name was Laverne. And upright piano. And just like no piano lessons, nothing. Just like playing on the piano, just like making shit up.
Yeah.
That's why you've got your own style now.
And like there's even songs that I've used like that I had around for years that I ended up using in White Magic and stuff.
Wow.
From when you were a kid.
From when I was a kid,
cool.
yeah.
That's
Like the song that's called Poor Harold, which sounds like a kid's song. I wrote when I was a kid, but they lyrics were written later, but the composition was written when I was like 12.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah,
That's
so a
so
couple
great.
songs are like that. I don't know. It's like they still seemed relevant to me, I guess.
Yeah.
So I wanted to record them and
Yeah. So music was like the first natural
visual
draw for
art,
you.
drawing was encouraged, and then having this piano was like another outlet for expression, and definitely was created a style, strange style that was not based on anything, any written music or anything. So that was probably a big influence.
Yeah. And were there early influences for you in that at that time, or when you were a teenager?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as a teenager, I was thinking about what were some of the. I mean, my parents were of the '60s generation, so they were into that kind of music. Just the Stones, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin. So I was exposed to that, Bob Dylan. But then moved on to things like punk or like the Velvet Underground. When I was really little, I liked Blondie, which continued on throughout my life, and still love Blondie.
Wow.
But as a teenager, it was like The Cure, The Smiths, but also like Devo, Billie Holiday, and Velvet Underground. Stuff like that.
Yeah. I can relate.
Punk music as well.
Yeah.
And punk music. DC punk.
Yeah, that's awesome. At what point did you think, I'm going to become a musician?
Oh, gosh. Well, it's interesting because when I was a really little kid, I wanted to be a pop star.
Ooh.
Pop singer, like Madonna.
Yeah.
And then I went through a phase where I was like, I will never sing in front of anyone. And it was like, but it wasn't, I still liked to sing, but it was like, I'm not going to be a performer because like I was too scared, I guess, or I just didn't want yeah, like I thought that's something I can never do. So it's just like singing is just for myself, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is ironic, obviously, to later on, become a performer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like I was too shy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you went into
And
it.
I broke out.
You broke out.
I broke out. Yeah, I mean, kind of with Quixotic. I mean, because I started playing drums, Quixotic.
Yeah.
And then, but I was a singer still, and then started doing my songs in Quixotic that I wrote. And also the cover, "I Am the Light of This World," is a gospel song that I got from the Staple Singers version. And that was kind of like, I don't know, it was like a breakout thing for me to sing that song.
Yeah.
It became, how I could start singing in front of people, actually.
Yeah.
I feel like there's like an element of where, I don't know, I can feel the gospel influence in white magic.
Oh, thank you.
As well.
Definitely, there is, gospel influence for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, not, gospel of any spiritual experience, like, not just Christian or a certain denomination, but, like the gospel of my own denomination.
Yeah.
Your own spiritual
journey and connection.
Yeah.
But you were writing songs the whole way, even if you weren't ready to perform them. Is that true?
No, I mean, well, yes, on piano.
Yeah.
I was writing songs, but and I forgot to mention my band that I had in high school.
Yeah.
It was called the Blue Rider.
Oh, cool.
Named after the Kandinsky painting. So I was going to art school.
Yeah.
And kind of inspired by Kandinsky. And he had this series called the Blue Rider. And so I named it after that. I was a bass player.
Yeah.
Well, it was all girls, 3-piece. None of us really knew our instruments.
Yeah.
We learned, like, just to play.
Yeah.
And I played bass, but I was, like, the songwriter, so I wrote, like, most of the songs on bass.
Okay.
And
it's like me. I write on bass as well.
I mean,
yeah.
Bass and piano, I can see there's, similarity.
Yeah.
The percussion kind of deep aspect. But, what was I going to say about that? Oh, the bass was the lead instrument, but, like, I was afraid to, like, really use my voice. Like, even though I could sing all these songs, I was, like, I wanted to be, like, arty punk. So I just, like, talk sang. And, like, so we were kind of trying to be this, like, arty punk. I mean, it was, like, the Slits was a major, and the Raincoats was, like, a major influence on that band.
Yeah.
And, I never put anything out. We did open for Slant 6 a couple times. It was, like, in D.C. This was, like, so long ago.
Yeah.
We were just kids. But, maybe I'll find a tape someday and put that out. I don't know. And so, like, recorded over people's tapes and, like, that was our practice tape and stuff.
And were you in DC then?
Yeah, like border Maryland, DC.
Okay.
And that's where you grew up too.
That's where I grew up, yeah.
And so the DC punk bands were...
Yeah.
You were going to see the DC punk bands?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah,
yeah,
since I was 12, because I had an older sister who was released on Discord. But before that, it was just like going to shows like Fugazi, Ignition, who else? I always think of it one of my first shows. Well, I have two. My very first show was like this, like scat. Wait, I'm sorry. Can edit that part out. I meant to say like a skate thrash band. It was like the Safari Club was like it was like a daytime punk show.
Yeah.
It was like all ages.
Yeah.
So you could go. I was like 12 years old.
Whoa.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was like, but it was like hardcore. You know what I mean? Like there was no alcohol, but it was like hardcore.
Yeah.
And like, you know, stage diving, whatever, like violence and stuff. But yeah, Swizz was the name. And my sister's best friend was like dating the singer, and so it was like she was like my bodyguard. Like she was all like deflecting like the combat boots, and that was my first kind of punk show. And then after that I was like going to Fugazi shows.
Yeah.
You know, they played at Fort Reno for free all the time. So that was like, really great for a kid.
Yeah, that's cool.
To experience,
Yeah. And White Magic, like, what inspired White Magic, and how did that come about? Like, I know you moved to New York. Did you start it in New York once you moved?
Yeah, I mean, I started maybe before that with writing some of the songs.
Yeah.
But definitely, like, after I moved to New York, I started the band. And... yeah, I don't know. It was kind of more my aesthetic or something, you know, than Quixotic. You know, it was just like the direction I wanted to go in, you know. The things that I was interested in, which is pretty eclectic. So I felt like I'm interested in the occult. I'm interested in, you know, traditional folk, you know, world music, all these different influences, and just, bring them together.
Yeah.
In White Magic.
Yeah.
Did that start with just, like, because I know that, you know, sometimes you perform solo, sometimes you perform with a band.
Yeah.
Sometimes that band is us.
Sometimes you guys,
But sometimes it's you know, like traditional kind of rock instruments, you know, like how did it, where did it, was it always kind of fluid like that, or did it start somewhere?
I mean, it was like, I feel like I've always taken this approach, you know, it was like the people that I wanted to play with were my friends, you know, and people that, you know, felt like on the same wavelength. So yeah, it was kind of like, no, not a specific choice, but it would be like, well, here's the structure of the song, my vision of the song, and then kind of the other people would bring in an aspect of their personality that would change it, you know, in a little different direction. So yeah, it became like, even some of the songs could be performed more rock, and then could also be performed solo, like more stripped down folk version or something. And I guess I like that, fluidity, being able to go back and forth.
Yeah.
Like the same with how it's fluid between genre. It doesn't ever have to. The songs themselves can. Have different structure and form.
Exactly. I don't. I don't want to be like stuck anywhere. I want to be able to. Go with whatever is like feeling right at the time. Yeah.
Like one thing that I think is really unique about White Magic is the frame drum, and like, you know, like you have many songs, like you have songs that are just a cappella in the frame drum, and I wonder if like some of the strange rhythms and things just come from like the idiomatic kind of nature of playing the frame drum. Like how did you find that instrument? Like where did it come from?
If you want to know where it actually came from, it came from the place called the House of Musical Traditions in Tacoma Park, Maryland.
Okay.
Which is actually where I was born.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's been there since I was born. It's like a music instrument shop that has all different world music instruments. So, I just went back there. I don't know. I had a vision for it. You know, I think part of it was like a vision of like, well, I'm just, you know, the troubadour. Like, I'm just traveling with my drum, you know, like I'm just like, you know, got my satchel and I'm like coming to your town and I'm going to sing some songs for you. I think that's kind of where that came from. Like, well, what if I don't need all these plugs and electricity and guitars and amps. Like, I could do it a cappella, I could do it without a mic, you know?
Yeah.
That was kind of what the inspiration was. Like, could be in the forest, or it could be on a street corner, or it could be in a theater, you know?
Yeah. But I mean, you could have chosen an acoustic guitar for that.
Yeah,
That's true.
And you chose the drum, and the drum is really signature aspect of white magic.
Yeah.
And the
cool.
and the sound.
Yeah.
So there must have been something there that just drew you.
Yeah, I think
to the tribal stuff.
It is the tribal, and it's also just percussion in general. I think I'm drawn to.
Okay,
I feel more comfortable with percussion, and then when I play piano, I feel like I play the piano like it's percussion, kind of. You know?
Yeah, I can see that actually.
Yeah, so it's just.
Do you feel like the percussion gives you like freedom to sing more as well?
That too. Yeah, exactly.
It can be quite supportive for the vocal.
Yeah, exactly. It's like kind of like if you don't have anything else, the drum is there, you know, it's supporting what's going on.
Yeah. And it keeps like the heartbeat and the rhythm and the flow. You can always like frame yourself within the space of the drum in some way.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely like, you get like entwined with this rhythm going on, and and one is pushing the other, because it is hard to coordinate, you know. I mean, people are often like, I can't believe you play something and sing at the same time. And
especially
it's really
like
hard.
These crazy beats.
Yeah. It is really, it's hard. But then, you know, it's like get into that rhythm or the trance of it.
Yeah.
And they're almost like, you know, can't be broken or something.
Yeah. You know? And it is a very like hypnotic, you know, sound to white magic. Where not only in the sense that it's really haunting and beautiful, but also in the rhythmic thing that just sort of, you know, almost like loops around, and you get
cyclical.
Cyclical. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I was thinking about that today. You know, because people have said that before, and it's not like I thought of that necessarily intentionally, but it definitely is like, I realize it's something that I just enjoy playing. You know, like, I can get into this if I can, like, just repeat the same thing over and over again and get into this trance. Like, that's when I'm trying to go, you know? Which
is, to me, like, I don't know much about, you know, all world music, but I know a little bit about, you know, Indian world music. And there is just something, you know, very trance-like about a lot of, you know, ragas and even just mantra singing or, you know, things like that. And your music kind of has that kind of effect where it feels spiritual and it feels like it's sort of, you know, connecting you with something deep. Yeah. And, that cycle feels like part of it. The repetition just feels like part of it.
For sure. I'm glad you feel
that. So, like, are there themes to your work that you notice repeating and things that you're drawn to, expressing, you know, a lot?
Yeah, I mean, it's like another one of those things that just kind of comes out, but like, it's definitely like, you know, expression of what's going on inside, or, you know, I always think of music as like, and this is the same with poetry, kind of expressing something that's not easily described, you know? So like a feeling, there isn't really a word for that, but, you know, but in a poem you can string these words together and it means something that you can relate to, you know, like you can feel. So it's kind of like that, like these sort of liminal emotions or something that are not easily described. So that like putting these images together kind of brings that feeling. You know, that's hard to articulate.
Yeah. Bringing the images together.
Like maybe it kind of goes back to like the synesthesia thing. Like, it could be an image that's unrelated that's evokes this feeling that,
like the juxtaposition between the elements that invoke something beyond words.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like the lyric and the music, the tone, the texture, everything is creating that. That couldn't really be put into words or described otherwise, Yeah.
So that's like, like beyond verbal, like into
exactly.
body feeling.
Definitely, yeah. But I didn't think about that, but it's definitely, coming from the unconscious, coming from the somatic.
The somatic.
Coming from the intuitive,
Yeah.
So, a lot of times I'm like, oh, where did that lyric come from,
Yeah.
Like, this just came out, like, but I see it or it makes sense to me,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, there are repetitive sort of like, there are repetitive things happening lyrically during the songs too that also invoke a trance. Mm-hmm. Not just the drum or the music, the voice, but the actual words.
That's true,
that are repeating and cyclic.
Yeah, definitely.
And very dreamlike stuff.
Like you're asking about themes. Definitely dreams are a part of that in some ways. Not necessarily directly, although that's a cool idea, just like write your dream in a song. But I definitely have intense dreams. That's been something that I've had my whole life, which is definitely, I think it is important to analyze your dreams and to understand your dreams, because it's really just learning about yourself. And then the imagery, it's like some wild shit, like, like, I mean, stuff I'm like, how does my brain even know how to make that happen? Like, I've never experienced this in my life, so it is like a weird, that's why, it could be like, am I astral traveling? Like, is this, it definitely feels like connection to like the other side. It's not, it doesn't, it's not just like your mind is like bored making up stuff, it's actually meaningful. But there's definitely dreamlike, dreamscape kind of qualities to the music.
And lyrically there's like, there's love themes as well. And they don't always feel human to me.
That's so interesting. You say that,
I feel like this mythic feeling about it when I, like...
That's really interesting.
Because I sing with you. And then so I say the words too.
Yeah, so you feel it. For sure. It's another thing I was sort of thinking about today, or maybe I think about in regards to my music, is like, these sort of, they're love songs, but they're like... kind of like devotional love songs,
right?
So like spiritual. Could be singing to Krishna, I could be singing to Jesus, I could be singing, or Song of Solomon, like all of these, like, so there's this like, there's the love aspect
with the divine
between humans, and then there's the love aspect with the divine, and there's sort of like a metaphor for each other in a lot of ways, you know what I mean? So it's like, I like that interplay, that like, well, maybe you're on that level where it's this romantic love you're thinking about, or you could be on this other level where you're thinking about this divine connection or this high divine love. And they all relate, so I like that.
And I think maybe there's something about your music that really that makes that kind of happen. It could be romantic love, but there's something about having music that's a trance, that's like drum and a cappella, drum and voice, that it makes it kind of more than human.
It's like it's got there's an inherent spiritual trance-like quality to it.
Yeah.
Again, the gospel thing, you know, relates. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what gospel songs are.
Yeah. Yeah, I really related. I mean, like the Staple Singers, I could say Mavis Staples is the reason why one of the artists that inspired me to sing.
Wow.
Billie Holiday also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Nina Simone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And trying to sing gospel was very hard. I mean, like you really have to push your vocals. And I think that's what I really learned to really sing, you know.
Yeah.
Singing gospel songs.
Yeah, because there's a lot of parts of the voice that you use when you're singing and belting and stuff like that too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, just to keep going with it, is maybe this is the reason, you know, the drum, not the guitar. You know, the choice of
That's right.
of the drum as your instrument,
maybe,
because if you show up with a guitar, you're connecting with.
It's very earthy.
It's very earthy, and you're connecting with this tradition. But when you've got the drum, and especially like the frame drum, which is very light and very almost melodic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is quite melodic. Yeah.
And then you've got your voice. It's like it's almost, you know, it's heavenly. You know, it's you know.
That's awesome.
You know, which I can't literally, you can't say heavenly literally, but you know, like, but I mean, you know, in the sense, you know, not just as like an adjective, but as in, you know, that as the opposite of earthy, you know, it's there's like a sense that, so if you sing a love song in that context, it becomes this devotional thing.
But most of the devotional, you know, Eastern songs have that framework, you know, of drumming.
I was just gonna say that drum is so universal. It's like cross cult, like every single culture has a frame drum. This one that I play is made in Pakistan. But every time I go somewhere, people are like, is that a this or that or that? Like, they think it's from a different culture, because they're almost the same. I like that aspect too. Just this, like, it's very basic, like, human instrument, you know? Like, it's like what everyone's played.
So what does that divine mean to you?
That's a big question. I think it is like kind of what you're saying. Like, there's the earthy aspect, there's the divine aspect. It's like that connection between the two, like, I think is where creativity is found, you know. Creativity and expression is, you know, the human, which is of the earth, you know, kind of looking for something more, and the divine channeling through that vessel. So that communication between the two, you know, is what interests me.
And it's not, you know, bound to any specific dogma or religion. It's just the concept.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, I can, you know, I relate to spiritual music across all cultures, and just relate to that, even though they all sound so different. You can still feel it, even without knowing the culture and knowing the scales, or you know, it's that's something about music that's very interesting, is that it does have an impact no matter what your background or culture, or may not know anything about music, and you will be affected anyways.
So true. And directly and immediately affected. It's
interesting.
And there's, you know, a sense across, you know, most religions, or all religions that I can think of, you know, there's a thing that binds them all together, this love. So regardless of which path you're taking to that divine relationship, that love is the same, and that sense of God is the same when you get to it at its core.
Exactly. And that like that connection is like, you know, it can't be faked, you know, like each person has their own kind of relationship to it, and that's why it's like universal but also very personal, but it's also, like you said, like you can hear it in any kind of spirituality.
And that, so, you know, so the emotion, like, there is love at its core.
Definitely. It is. Yeah.
So what's coming up for White Magic now?
Well, I'm playing my first show in, like, years live.
Amazing.
Yeah. And actually, I don't know if you guys know this, but you're playing with me as well.
We are. Yeah.
And it's going to be October 19th at Non Plus Ultra.
Yeah.
DM for address.
Yeah.
And
in Los Angeles.
In Los Angeles. Yeah. I was going to say, just so you know, Non Plus Ultra is a alternative space in Los Angeles, kind of underground. And, they always put on good shows. It's going to be with Escapism, Ian Svenonius, Yalmaic Frequencies, which is Diva Dompe.
Yay.
And also Hans Stobratz and Matt Baldwin are going to do a spoken word music piece.
Amazing.
Yeah, it should be fun.
It's going to be an awesome night. I know it. It's going to be really fun.
And also to add, it's a benefit for my precious kitty, Buka.
Yeah. You want to tell us about Buka?
It's a good cause.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, she's the light of my life. She's my little baby child. And, we've been going through some hard times with her medical stuff. We just need support. So a lot of, my friends have donating their time to help me and help Buka. And it's really, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
I love
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. But yeah, it's going to be an amazing event. And just your shows are always incredible. I know we're playing with you, but like I'm amazed when we're rehearsing, and it's just really beautiful to play those songs.
Yeah, it's been really fun.
Yeah, it's the whole night is going to be really amazing, and it's for a really good cause. So for everyone in LA, please come out on October 19th. Non Plus Ultra, DM Non Plus Ultra for the info, for the details.
Yeah.
It's a really cool venue, and it's going to be an amazing show and for a really good cause. And, you're working on some new music too.
Yeah, I have a lot of recordings that haven't been released yet, and just projects that have been sort of in the works but not completed.
Yeah.
Some exciting things that, I'm just working on, want to get the funding for, and,
lots of
secret projects that I'm working on.
Yeah.
Oh.
And things are on the precipice of exciting things are on the precipice for White Magic. So people should definitely, if you don't already follow White Magic, please follow White Magic and stay up to date with some of the upcoming very cool stuff that is in store for people.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mira. It was a pleasure having you.
Thanks for having me.
Such a pleasure having you on, Mira. Yeah, always amazing to talk to you, and a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Please follow Mira on Instagram and If you enjoyed this podcast, please give us a 5-star review, follow, like, and subscribe.
Follow, like, and subscribe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.